the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Con, how are you?
I'm excellent.
I feel like there's a divorce trap in law enforcement that not a lot of people talk about. And I know for us, this year was one of the biggest struggles with your shift work and having one of us be awake all of the time while the other one was sleeping and basically living two completely different lives than one another. It made it very, very hard for us to, I don't want to say be on the same page, but to ever have a moment to actually connect in a way that we traditionally would.
Yeah, I think especially with shift work, you run into almost a separation of leading two different lives because I'm awake all night and you're awake all day, and then we cross paths, but we're there for one another, and if we ever needed anything, of course we would be there, but you run into that. It's a completely different lifestyle.
And that's not to say that for some people, it doesn't just work, right? Because for some people it does. There are a lot of people that you work with that they prefer that graveyard shift.
Yeah, that I still don't understand that.
But I think that for most people, shift work can actually erode your marriage and change your family dynamics incredibly, especially if it's not something that you are a willing participant of. And it's important to be able to understand this. And maybe we can try to identify some things that made life kind of work for us during that time. And you know, a lot of the times too, you might have it to where the two of you could never have days that actually line up. Things like holidays, anniversaries, milestones, they kind of get swallowed in this mandatory overtime sometimes. And communication can be dramatically reduced because having those regular check-ins could be very difficult to be able to have.
Yeah, especially if you're going into work at 10 o'clock at night and that's when your family's going to bed, and when you come home, everyone's just then starting to wake up and then you're going to bed, and it's setting aside that time with intention to be able to say, okay, this is the time that I'm spending with you, and we can just have that time together.
Yeah, the psychological concept here is actually called circadian mismatch. So that means that you and I are basically on two completely different sleeping schedules and life or hunting schedules as it would be in primal times, right? And so I think it's important to understand that because when this happens, you have a lot of emotional disconnection. Something that I identified in you inadvertently was irritability. There could be decreased intimacy, there could be communication breakdowns, and a lot of misunderstandings when two people aren't aligned with each other.
Yeah, you start running into these problems, especially if one party's not getting near enough sleep, you're going to have the raised levels of irritability or not good enough sleep, and you start having this disconnect more and more because you're learning a whole new lifestyle on your own, and you're getting into this routine, a new routine that you have established to be able to, effectively go out and do your job and to show up at work, but you're not coming home to show up at home because then you just go to sleep and you don't have that connection anymore.
Yeah, and I know for you, being on the graveyard shift during your days off too, you weren't actually there because it made it very difficult for you to emotionally clock in because you were so tired even on your days off.
Yeah, you feel that burnt outness. You try getting into a normal routine, a normal schedule that aligns with your family, that aligns with your life in general, and it's hard to do that, especially when 4 or 5 days out of your work week you're up all night and you're trying to reformat it to align with everybody else's schedule during the daytime.
Yeah, and it could, looking at this metaphorically, it's almost like these two ships that are literally just passing each other in between shifts or in between schedules. And what happens is anytime that there could be a disagreement or something that has gone wrong, that typically you would have a sit-down conversation and talk things through, it's really hard to do when you have one partner who's basically half asleep or rushed or emotionally unavailable.
Yeah, when you start when your brain's not functioning to the full scale, it's because of the sleepiness, because of the tiredness that's associated to it, and then all you're looking for is just to go to bed, and you're never going to be able to have those deep, meaningful conversations to be able to address those issues.
And one person might become like the default person, so the default parent or the default whatever it is at home. I know for me, we had some random things happen like at the house where I needed help, and it could have been something with our well pump or our water, electric, like whatever it was. And typically if there's something I could say, hey, Clint, this is happening. And if it's something I can't handle, then you would usually do it on your day off. But I didn't have that availability of you anymore. And so it was me needing to be more resourceful because of being that default person for things.
Yeah. And it turns tricky, especially for both sides of it. Like I think in general, we look at this is how it's affecting me working graveyard and how tired I am and everything, that you don't like it and you don't adapt to it very well, but you're not looking at your family and how you're not there and you're being absent in that aspect of it too, to be able to love and support them where they absolutely need it.
So I think some things that really worked for us is to create these anchor points, and for our communication, most of it turned to all things digital words, whether it was, oh, this is something that I should have told Clint, or this is something that we need to be on the same page about. So I would keep little notes for myself or schedule out emails or text messages to you. That way it would be something that I wouldn't forget, and that you would still be kept in the loop with things, and that those conversations didn't go left unsaid. And you did a good job too while you were at work to, communicate similar things to me.
Yeah, and it's important because there was times, and I remember this, like times at 2-3 o'clock in the morning where I'm like, oh, I haven't told Ashley this. I need to make sure I tell her. So I'll send her an email. So one, I know she's sleeping. It's not going to wake her up, but she'll get it to where it's there and she can look at it and we can have that open line of communication with it.
Something important too was to make sure that we were scheduling intentional timeouts. So having vacations planned and things that we could look forward to, things to where you at least had an awareness of knowing that, okay, I'm going to have a break from all of this craziness with my schedule soon.
Yeah, it's important to have that stuff scheduled out because one, you get that break, but two, it gives you that something to look forward to where you can have that shared excitement with your spouse, with your loved ones, whoever it may be, to be able to really set something to where like you're reconnecting in that instance.
I did my best to be as encouraging towards you during that time, whether it was go back to sleep, you didn't get enough sleep, helping with making sure you had everything prepared for work and not being an additional burden to you, which I think is an important thing to point out. Yeah,
and it made such a difference because when you have your support system in your corner backing you up to support you to where you can trust that it's going to be done, but they're showing you, I'm still here, I love you, and I'm going to support you through this, even though it's a hard time.
I think too that, I'm a very independent person as it is, but I know that not a lot of people, females especially, are that way. And it's important to have something that's yours, because if I didn't, and I was sitting there constantly fixated on you being gone or all the things that you're not doing or trying to nitpick at things that in reality probably don't actually exist, it would be a lot easier to do that if I didn't have something of my own that I was occupying my own time with.
Yeah, and I think you said it perfectly. It's finding those avenues to where you have something going on. Because I know of people who their spouse just sits at home, they wait on pins and needles to hear from them, to have them come home to them. And it's just not healthy because that's putting a lot of burden not only on the other individual, but it's something to where if you don't have something you're striving for, something you're pushing for that's your own, what is your purpose?
I don't know why in my mind I'm like picturing a female in the kitchen listening to the police scanner.
I know.
And we're laughing, but the reality is that for some people that's their reality.
Yeah, and it's sad because ultimately that's where you as an individual can support your loved ones and to say, hey, let's find something that we can, shift your focus to be able to have something else to do other than just sit in there waiting.
And shift work doesn't destroy marriages, especially in one blow. I think that it's 1,000 of those small disconnects, especially over the years. But with intention and structure and emotional honesty, I think it's important to know that you can have a deeper understanding and connection with each other, but you both have to be willing to be able to put in a little bit more work, because it's definitely more work.
Yeah, and it's on both sides too, because you got to put in the work for each other, and that's where it's so important. And I think we're really good at putting in that work for one another.
I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.